With 4 weeks left, can you give us a clinic on this? You've already reserved ads and you've already hired ground troops. You're knocking on doors now. What can you do with that money to be best used when you make closing arguments this month?
Well, thanks for having me. This really is about making sure that people understand what's at stake this election. We have incredible candidates running all across the country, and resources make sure that people know who they are, that their message gets out, and they understand what's at stake this election. We have races in all parts of the country. Our map has 68 races on it, so resources help us work in communities all across the country. And we have incredible candidates who are going to be great members of Congress. So it's really, really important that people understand what's at stake and the opportunity that they have this election.
Just want to warn you, Congresswoman, and let our listeners and viewers know that President Biden is set to emerge in the next 2 minutes here. And I just wonder your concern right now with the storm damage that we've seen in North Carolina, for instance, now the addition of another storm, to what extent that might impact people's ability to vote early, to get their hands on absentee ballots and focus, frankly, on this election during the final month.
The most important thing right now is to do all we can to make sure that folks are safe, to help support these communities, the first responders, to support FEMA and the important work that they're doing. So that is our focus, and we're going to do all we can to help support these communities and make sure that people are able to recover. But that's our priority. There is definitely an effort to make sure that folks have access to the ballot as well. But the number one focus of the day is to make sure that people are safe.
Is the DCCC in touch with people on the ground there? And I ask you that knowing that your members are charged with constituent services that are incredibly important right now and could, in fact, inform people's decisions in November.
Well, I think, the most important thing that members of Congress can do is to be there for our communities, to make sure that resources are available. We help take away any issues that might get in the way of a response. And one of the most important things we can do, too, is spread accurate information.
Congresswoman, it's hard not to acknowledge the urgency of the situation here. Will you, as the leader of the campaign arm for Democrats in the U.S. House, calibrate your approach to the campaign based on the outcome of this storm? Sometimes we have opportunities to take ads off the air, to stop the attacks, and to your point, turn our attention to helping people.
Our focus is on helping people. Our focus is on making sure people are safe, to help these communities. And this should be something that we all come together on. There is a need throughout Florida, the communities in Florida, North Carolina, what we've seen in the Southeast. And this should be a bipartisan effort. I think the president is very right to express the outrage and with the misinformation, the lies that have been out there. We have a responsibility on all of us to make sure there's accurate information out to people in communities so they understand the work that's happening to help. So that has to be the number one focus, is for us to come together and help these communities, not only immediately and our first responders, but in the long-term recovery.
Well, of course, we're 4 weeks out from Election Day. A lot of people are already voting. And as the person who chairs, as I mentioned, the agency tasked with getting Democrats elected to the House, the committee, we heard from your Democratic leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, talking about some of the key races that you're focused on for Democrats and how the presidential election might impact them. Here's what he said.
We have important races all across the country, many races that are in the presidential battleground states of Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Michigan, North Carolina, as well as Wisconsin. So this is going to be a race that will play itself out all across the country. It's an expansive map, and House Democrats are increasingly on offense.
Jeffries rattling off, that was from last month in a briefing, by the way, the swing states that will likely decide the presidential election. But of course, you're dealing with a much more granular map as we look down ballot. You only need a net gain of only 4 seats, Congresswoman. Where will you find them?
Our map, it literally is across the country. It's in places like New York and California, where you don't see the focus on the presidential side. We also are definitely involved in states like Leader Jeffries talked about, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, where you see Senate races and presidential swing election and key focus. And so we are focused all across the country on our races. House races are not entire states, they're pieces of states. These are purple districts that we're focused on. And the number one thing that's important is having great candidates, talking to people about the issues that are important, who are going to go to Washington, D.C. to govern and end the chaos and dysfunction that we've seen from House Republicans. That's what we're focused on, and that's why we're going to win.
When you consider those purple districts, lastly, Congresswoman, what do you make of some of the traveling that Donald Trump has done and is still planning? He's talking now about holding a rally at Madison Square Garden. He held a rally at the Coliseum in Long Island. When you consider the Lawlers, the D'Espositos, I know that he isn't likely to win the state of New York, but what is the down ballot effect in places like New York and California on House races?
Everywhere that I've been across the country on our battlefield, people want to see governance work. They want folks who are going to focus on the needs of the community and get things done. And we're going to hold Republicans accountable for their chaos, dysfunction, and extremism. We have seen this Congress an inability for folks to govern on the Republican side. And when we talk about the issues that are important to American people, making sure we're lowering costs, lowering the cost of prescription drugs and housing, focusing on health care for everyone in this country, making sure that we stand up for reproductive freedom. These are issues that are important across the country, and we are focused on real solutions and moving our country forward. That's what we're focused on, that contrast between what we can do when we have leaders who care about governing and the dysfunction and extremism we've seen on the Republican side. And we're going to hold these Republican incumbents accountable for their inaction and for the votes that they have taken, the extreme votes that they have taken.